Summer of the Mariposas, Chapter 3, titled The Star, the tallest and brightest of all my daughters. When we got back to the river's edge, the girls exhausted themselves preparing for the trip. Vilya held a flashlight, while Julia, who had brought a pair of Papa's old jeans, one of his dress shirts, and his cowboy boots, dressed the body with the reverence of a dedicated mortician. Afterwards, we slept with the Mariposas in the car. At 5 o'clock in the morning, the girls got up and splashed cold river water on their face. I don't like it, Peta scrunched her chubby face in disgust when they propped the dressed body up against the Mariposa's trunk. He was as rigid as the mannequins at J.C. Penney's, with a baseball cap on his head, dim sunglasses over his lifeless eyes, and his arms crossed awkwardly in front of him. He looks too much like Papa, Delia admitted, stepping away from him. Delia scrubbed away the thick layer of rouge Juanita had applied to his cheekbones in the dark. He looks like a prostitute. He does not, Juanita said. Don't take it all off. He needs to look alive. Delia helped her twin sister scrub off the excess makeup from the dead man's neck. He doesn't look alive. He looks ridiculous. Men don't wear makeup, Juanita. Fine, have it your way. But you're gonna get caught if he doesn't look half alive, Juanita answered. I left them there arguing with each other and took a short walk while they figure things out. Once they got the body in the car, I drive us up to the International Bridge and turn it in. We'd be home in time to fix breakfast for Mama. Then we'd go to bed and only dream about what could have happened after this night. I walked alone along the riverbank. It was dawning light. It shimmered with the hues of day fighting away the shadows of night, while the multitude of trees and shrubbery that grew for miles and miles along the riverbanks still shrouded the land in shadow. Suddenly, to the left of me, about 10 yards southeast along the river, beyond the twisted path my sister and I had worn into the thickets, two small figures ran past me, in and out of the dusty brush, right up to the river's edge. They ran along the banks, skirting it so closely that pebbles flew off their footsteps and bounced into the water. Their face was indisguisable in the dark, and their white outfits were muted by the lack of sunlight. But I could see that they were little boys running away from something or someone. It didn't take very long to see who they were running from. Behind them, a woman in a pale dress came running, screaming at the boys, begging them to stop. Her long black hair whipped behind her as she fought through the brush. It was clear to me she was worried, frantic, even that they might fall into the river. Ayas mías tacas, she screamed as she sidestepped ruts and rocks with her small bare feet. The short trees tore at her immaculate white dress, but she didn't care. She pulled herself free of any tree limbs that clawed at her and kept chasing after her children, never losing sight. Hey, I screamed after the children. They didn't turn to look at me or acknowledge me in any way. They were getting dangerously close to the cliff at the edge of the river. I left the security of our path and darted after them. They still ran parallel to the water of the Rio Grande, much too close to the current that roared furiously below. The waters here were dark and angry, almost violent, nothing like our friendly swimming hole. I sped up, afraid they might lose their footing. Too late. I screamed for them to get away from the edge. In a second, they were falling, both of them, one behind the other. Into the water they went, making loud splashes as they fought to stay afloat. Without thinking, I scrambled up to the edge and jumped in after them. The roar and chilliness of the dark water awakened my senses, and my heart constricted in my chest as I came up for air. I had to fight the undercurrent to keep from being swept away. As I struggled to stay afloat, I looked around wildly for the children who I clearly saw fall into the water seconds before me. They were about 15 feet away from me, being dragged down into the body of a heavy current. Their mother, running along the river, cried and screamed for me to help them. Ay, míos, here, she wailed miserably. I swam with long enough strokes, trying to remain in control of my body, not letting the undertow pull me down. But my efforts were in vain. The water rose over my head and swirling around me like a whirlpool, dragging me deeper and deeper until the thin light of dawn turned into darkness and I couldn't see anything anymore. All the obscurity and cold, and I thought I would drown. What would Mama think? Did I fail my sisters? My lungs ached with the pressure of unreleased air. Just when I was about to give in, the roaring stopped and I felt myself break through the surface. The fresh morning air hit my lungs like a blow to the chest, and I pressed my fist against my heart as if it had stopped the pain from killing me. As I coughed and sputtered in agony in the now calmed water, I saw one of the boys floating before me. I grabbed his arms and pulled him in, dragging him over my shoulder. I began to swim towards the riverbank where his mother was crying out for me to bring him to her. When I got close enough, she stepped back. You're too late. He drowned, she wailed as she stood watching me struggle with her son's body. At her words, inexplicably, the boy's body slipped from me. It bobbed in the water and wavered in the pre-dawn light, then disappeared before my very eyes. I turned around to look for his brother and saw him drifting a few feet away from me. Before I could dive in for him, he vanished like a strange mirage. Here, let me help you, their mother said, extending her hand to me from above. The hand was cold as a corpse, but I took it anyways. At first, I attributed the coldness to her state of despair or my own soakedness. But when she pulled me out, she spoke again, and what she said made me want to jump right back in the water. It is always the same way, she said, her expression helpless in a worn, worried face. The woman's hair was long and disheveled, and her long tunic dress was torn and frayed. I could tell it used to be a white robe of some kind when it was new, but it was so old, it was gray now. On the whole, she looked unkempt and malnourished, close to death. They drown before I can reach them. It is my nightmare, my destiny, my fate to search endlessly for them by night, only to find them drowned in the sight of morning. Recognition entered my mind, and I froze, unable to speak. The woman's eyes softened, and she looked at me. You know who I am, don't you? Lorona? I whispered a dreadful name before I could censor myself. Most women would be offended to be mistaken for the ghostly apparition, but she did not flinch at the horrific namesake. Instead, her smile was apologetic and teary. It invoked compassion rather than fear. Some call me that, she admitted, and she tried to take my hand. Do not be afraid. I cannot harm you. Was she saying she was La Llorona? As much as the idea of talking to a ghost fascinated me, it also frightened me. I had heard so many awful things about La Llorona that I couldn't help it. I pulled away from her and took a few steps back. But you killed your children. It was common knowledge, more than a legend. Every mother on both sides of the border warned her children that La Llorona would get them if they wandered too close to the river. I couldn't help but wonder if by playing in it all summer we hadn't cursed ourselves. I know what they say, she admitted. I've heard the stories many times through the centuries, but they are mistaken. I did not drown my kititos. You didn't? Then why do you run after? Then why do they run away from you? I looked back at the dark river, wondering if I had really seen her children drowning. Had I imagined trying to save them? Was it possible? I was dreaming all of this. La Llorona stepped away from me and turned to the river. She wrapped her arms around herself as if the memory gave her a chill. We were arguing that night, their father, Hermione, and I, about a decision to leave. We fought over the children, dragging them into our pain. Masrina was as scared, so confused, that they fled towards the river in darkness and drowned. It is a nightmare I experience every night, a memory I am forever reliving. I went to stand beside her. Her loss was unimaginable, and suddenly she was very human to me. Why do you look for them if you know they're dead? It is a punishment I imposed on myself. La Llorona began. Penance for my part in it. I should have been more careful, made sure they were always safe. I want them to come back to me, but they won't or can't. I do not know the reason behind it, but they are being kept from me. I would never take the children that play at the river the way people say I do. I do not want other children. They could never replace my quietas. Believe me, you and your sisters have nothing to worry about. I am not here to harm you. I considered her words and wondered why someone would willingly punish herself for all eternity. It seems implausible to me. But then again, I was standing on the edge of the river talking to a ghost. Nothing was normal. Nothing made sense. Then, what do you want from us? You were chosen for the goodness in your heart, she explained. Like Juan Diego, the most humble of the Virgin's children. You are noble and kind hearted. You display great courage when you jumped into the water to save my sons. Your sister's was right when she said finding the body of the drowned man was not an accident. She took my hand once again, her touch still deathly cold, standing beside the hackleberry shrub with hundreds of empty, desolate cocoons still clinging to their branches and a carpet of butterfly corpses under her feet. La Llorona did not look anything like a malevolent specter. She looked more like a tired, heavily burdened woman. My sisters are waiting, I said, trying to take my hand from hers so that I might escape if I had to. La Llorona let go of my hand. Please, try to have faith. I am here in your service to guide and protect you, she said. I put my hand under my arms to warm them. Protect me? From what? Yes, she said, a weary smile curling around her lips. She had a look of age about her, despite appearing no older than Mamma. It was something in her eyes. Her sorrow of long age lived in them. It is an eternal atonement to watch over the children of the sun, the children of my people, the Aztec bloodline. Aztec? I asked, surprised. Mama never said we were Aztec. Papa was fair-haired and light complexic, implying a Spanish bloodline rather than native Mexican. But Mama did have olive skin, black hair, and dark eyes. Yes, you are descendant of great people, she continued, pulling my attention away from my wild, erratic thoughts and making me focus on the situation at hand. At that very moment, the sun burst out from beneath the horizon, and La Llorona's features changed. She went from being a tired woman to looking downright frightening. Her disheveled hair suddenly turned completely white. The loose silvery strand withered around her head like Serpentine's ghost. more fearsome than Medusa. La Llorota's gaunt face shriveled up like a pale raisin, becoming shallow and ashen, creased by centuries of wrinkles and dark blotches. But it was her eyes that scared me the most. They turned a deep, evil black. They glittered like cursed gemstones. I was so terrified I couldn't move, but I trembled where I stood. I couldn't speak for a moment. My throat tightened and I was having trouble breathing. Don't be afraid, she pleaded. I don't have much time. Once the sun rises completely, I must go back. The gentleness of her voice calmed me a little, and I was able to reply, though I wanted to run away back to my Hermantes. Go back where? Why are why are you here? I haven't been sent here to help you find your way, La Llorota said. There is a path designated for everyone, and everyone must walk in his or her path. This is your path. You must walk it. To refuse would be unfortunate. Unfortunate. The word felt ominous, coming from La Llorota herself, and my body stiffened in response. I fought to speak, to get out of the words to the question. I was suddenly weighing heavily on my mind. Am I going to be cursed like you if I don't walk my path? Change must take place. It is important. To remain as you are would lead to isolation. You would be doomed to a lonely existence, ripped apart from those you loved. I threw up my arms and let out the frustration sigh. You're speaking in riddles. I don't understand what La Llorota wanted me to do. How was I supposed to change, to find my way? What did that even mean? Then let me speak painfully, La Llorota began. You must go to El Sacrificer and take the drowned man back to his family. The sun had finished rising, and it fully radiance was dissolving La Llorota's form. She stood to hide under the shade of a cluster of hibiscus trees, looking almost translucent. But we don't even know who he is. Sure, we have his wallet, but we're just kids, I began. It's not all about him, La Llorota assured me. This is about you and your loved ones too. Your family is lost in turmoil. You must find each other, become whole again. Though La Llorota's body was translucent, her eyes remained untouched, dark and luminous in the shadows of the hibiscus tree. Are you saying that this is about the trouble between Mama and Papa? This is about all of you, your sisters, your parents, even your abula. La Llorota continued. You must travel to the other side, into the land of your ancestors, to find each other again. Before I could ask her to clarify the puzzle, after all, my sisters were all right here with me, I heard Juanita's voice, then Delia and Vielia calling out for me. I turned towards the clearing. Here, take this, La Llorota said, reaching for me again. This time I did not pull away as she placed something bulky and cold in the palm of my hand and closed it tightly for me. Her bony fingers pressed against my own. Though she appeared to age before my eyes, her skin felt youthful and firm as it made contact with mine. You will need it, for your journey will be filled with many hardships. Your courage and conviction will be tested throughout your travels. You must accept it and use it. I opened my hand to look at it, wondering. Before I could ask, she said, an ear pendant. It held it up in the light where the gold glittered in the morning sun, and I twirled it between my fingertips. At the base of the ear pendant, a serpent's fangs held a small loop. Within the loop, 5 wide rings were suspended, each one larger than the last, nesting snugly inside each other, like the rings of Saturn. It is like of Cacoluta, La Serpentine, La Llorona explained, watching it glittered in the morning sun. Along the banks, we were almost fully exposed in the sun, though the thick woods continued to stretch for miles around us. A most powerful amulet. It was given to me by my mother on my 15th birthday at the altar of Tankalutan when I became a woman. It has magical properties, gifts from the gods, but you can only use it 5 times, one for each ring on its axis. I examined the beautiful pendant. It had to be centuries old. If she was telling me the truth, take it, she said when I tried handing it back. How could I take something so valuable? Even half a pair must be worth a fortune. It belongs to you now. Wear it in your left ear. When you need help, take hold of it, spin it, and invoke the goddess, the Aztec queen, Tonantzina, the holy mother of all mankind, and ask her for magical assistance. Whatever you ask, she will provide. I I can't do this, I told La Llorona. How can I take responsibility for something so powerful? It frightened me more than La Llorona herself to do such a thing. This air pendant can do many things, La Llorona insisted. It can change your aura and provide you with safe passage as you travel from your world into ours. But be careful to use it wisely. Never call upon its power in anger or arrogance. You and your sisters must remain pure of heart on this journey. Cordelia, be courteous, be courageous, but remember also to be noble and kind. If you do that, everything will be all right. Odelia, is that you? Juanita's voice startled La Llorona, who stepped back into the bush. They're just little girls, dreaming up an adventure. I can't drag them down to Mexico. I can't sacrifice them to follow my path, I whispered fiercely, still holding the ear pendant in front of me. But La Llorona wasn't taking it back. I heard twigs breaking and footsteps getting closer from directions of the swimming hole. The girls couldn't see us from the path. We were hiding behind the heavy cluster of hibiscus trees. But if they were veered off the path, they'd find me talking to a phantom. This is not for you to do alone, La Llorona said. You must come together with your Hermiones. You must rejoice in the strength of sisterhood and return the man to his families. Because we're lost? I asked, even as I said it, a pang of recollection that La Llorona was exactly right with us, that we were lost. Fluttering to life within me, much like the Mariposas who were beginning to stir in the morning light. At the same time, La Llorona, confirming Juanita's crazy plan, made me question my own sanity. But what if she was right? If doing something as simple as returning a dead man to his family would save our family, should I try? Yet, the thought of going into Mexico without telling Mama where we were going or why made me feel awful. We hadn't even left her a note. What would she think? Would she feel abandoned again? Delia and Velia were arguing with each other in the brush behind us. They weren't more than 10 feet away, but the cluster of hibiscus sheltered us from their view. She left, Delia declared. No, she wouldn't do that. She wouldn't leave us out here all alone, Delia said, their voices getting closer and closer until I knew they were only a few yards away. I focused back on the spectral woman whose voice was becoming more strained. It is the only way, La Llorona whispered. Your mother and your sisters need you. They are lost in despair. They need more. They need me right here, taking care of them. Mama was depending on me to keep them safe. I'm tired of your riddles. I'm taking them home. I said, turning to go. Please, La Lorota pleaded, standing up and stepping in front of me. You must take him back. Don't do it for him. He's just a man, one who committed a selfish act. Don't do it for his wife either. She cries for him for her own selfish reasons. Don't even do it for his little ones, who, like many children, have already turned to their play without thinking much of him anymore. Do it for your Hermaites. Deliver the man home to his family, and then drive your sisters to El Sacrificio to see their abula. Reunite your family. Adelia, it is all part of the journey. You must take the path of true happiness. Odelia, who are you talking to? Juanita bursted through the brushes from another direction. I thought she was with the twins behind the hibiscus. She stopped abruptly and stared at me. And why are your clothes all wet? She asked. I looked around for La Lorota, but the apparition was gone. Nobody, I said, suddenly feeling stupid. I'm losing it, I thought, as I pushed branches aside, fighting my way back to the clearing. But I heard voices, Juanita insisted. I tucked the ear pendant into the pocket for safekeeping. Me too. I think it's Delia and Delia arguing again. No, Juanita said. I heard them, but I heard you too. You were talking to someone out here. I wasn't. That was one thing I hated about Juanita. The way she clung to things and wouldn't let them go, like a dim-witted gnat stuck on a piece of rotting fruit. I couldn't explain to her who I'd been talking to, but she wouldn't let it go. Yes, you were. I heard you, she insisted. Why are you lying to me? Okay, fine, I finally admitted. I was talking to La Llorona. She wants us to take the drowned man home. I tried to tell her we couldn't, but she said we have to do it because it's our destiny or something. I couldn't understand her. She talks in riddles. There, I admitted it. I was talking to a ghost. Are you happy now? Fine. Don't tell me. I don't care. I don't have to know. Juanita clamped her mouth, shut and sulked off. I followed close behind without saying another word. If I'd known the truth was the one thing that could shut Juanita up for good, I would have stopped lying to her years ago.